Hey, folks. Carrie checking in here for a little Sunday night show. Had to play around with my schedule a little bit these last couple of weeks because it's spring and I need to clone myself. I need to clone myself or have an employee who can read my mind. Um, been quite busy. We have had very interesting weather. Nothing too crazy, just typical, really typical for our region this time of year. That's kind of had me, shifting things around, getting stuff done when I could, inside work when needed, outside work when the weather permitted. But these last couple of days have been great, and we've all collectively as a family been getting all kinds of stuff done up here on the farm. So let's see, where do I want to kick off here? I do want to make a couple of announcements. My good friends Sarah and TJ, who are the proprietors of a farm down in Riceville, Tennessee. That's Vuck Farm. That's V as in Victor, VUCK Farm. They are biodynamic farmers, and they have an opportunity to purchase land across the street from the current farm to expand their offerings, to steward that land, and keep it from becoming developed. So I've included a link in the show notes. Please take a look at their website if this is something that you feel compelled to donate to share around, to share with people who may be able to donate. They're looking to raise about $50,000. They've got $20,000 down already, so they have put in. They've been very transparent about what they've been able to put in already and what their plans are. So please take a look at that link and consider lending a hand. I've pushed along some capital to help, and it's one of those things where we just need a little help to keep moving that along. They are excellent people, wonderful farmers. They provide products for the local market. Lots of woofing opportunities. They have interns. That's the word I was looking for. They have interns out there on the regular. They're just excellent people. Some of my very favorite people in our local regenerative community. So please take a look at that. We had a great foraging class yesterday, which included my good friend and teammate from my jiu-jitsu crew. Bransky came out. He brought his family, and we just had a great time doing a foraging walk here. We're pretty much in that swing where there's just all kinds of stuff to show. Like I don't have any trouble finding things to show. So we enjoyed that. And the next foraging class will be coming up on May 10th. And that's all on the website, strongrootsresources.com. I've been trading some garden and food forest work with my friend Nicole for website work. And you may notice that the website is looking better and operating better. And we're just getting things tuned up in there, getting the shopping cart added so I can actually put my products up there, put my various consulting options up there, and just streamline the whole thing. She's a whiz at that sort of thing. I am not. So that's been a good partnership right there. So since we're in, full flush of all the cool season forbs, grasses, quote unquote weeds, all that stuff. I've been moving the sheep quickly, pretty much every day. They've not stayed anywhere in the last couple of weeks for more than a couple of days. And I just moved them back across the driveway just a little while ago. And that's kind of going to be the trend for the next, at least the next couple of weeks, I'd say, until I need to put them into a really big paddock while I'm at the Living Free in Tennessee workshop later in April. But they're pretty happy. They're all doing good. We're holding that at 40. They're just babies are growing fast. Mothers are looking good. Everybody's looking healthy. Probably going to plan to do some hoof trimming soon. There's a couple that they're getting a little long in the back, so we'll get that handled. But yeah, they're doing great. They're just doing sheep things. One thing I did notice, which is a good thing to pay attention to for people who are new to sheep, when they go from being pretty much exclusively on hay or other dried forage to the fresh green grass and all of those other specimens, they can get basically you'll start seeing soft stool, and that doesn't necessarily mean parasites in those conditions. Like I said, we've had a lot of rain, so everything is very green and very rich, very high in carbs and sugars, and not as fibrous at this stage. So that can mean, kind of just like with a human, if you suddenly decide to start eating a whole lot of salad, you might find yourself having a different experience in the bathroom than you're accustomed to. So I have been feeding them a little bit of hay. I've just been basically just pulling off flakes from one of the big rolls and just distributing flakes all around the paddock so that whoever wants to go and eat a little bit of dry stuff to kind of balance out their rumen can do so. And since I started doing that a few days ago, I've noticed that we're back to making pellets and not cylinders, So just something to keep in mind. That can be quite the shift for their rumen to adapt to, especially the way it came on here. Sometimes we have kind of a dry spring. This one has been really wet. We've had a lot of rain. We've had a lot of storms. So it's been great for the growth, and I've been happy to have it, but it has made things super rich for those ruminants. Other cool thing that happened, and I threw a video up on TikTok about it, and I need to share that same video over to YouTube here. But when I was in the holler last weekend helping out in Nicole's food forest and gardens, the tactical redneck out there had hollered at me, and he said, "Hey, next time you're out here, bring a trailer, because I got a 4-wheeler for you." So it turns out that Tactical had a 08 Honda Rancher that he wanted to gift to me. It was originally a gift from his dad, and he checked with his dad and said, "Hey, I'd like to pass this 4-wheeler along," because he had 2 others outfitted for what he does out there, for the way he runs things with the sheep on their terrain. And his dad was like, "Well, yeah, of course." So I'm now the proud owner of a pretty solid Honda Rancher. Not any kind of crazy hours. It's not rusty. It's not been beat on, and everything on it works. I picked up. Tyler checked it out when I brought it home. We're going to do the front wheel bearings. We're going to do the front wheel bearings, and we're going to do like an oil change and service on it. But it's operational, and I've been using it. So yeah, huge upgrade to being able to just move materials, move sheep stuff around. I've got this little 4x8 trailer that's kind of just been hanging out in the driveway. I haven't really used it a whole lot. Put new tires on it, cleaned it up, and just haven't needed it as much. I just used the bigger one a little bit more. But that's turned out to be the perfect trailer to pull behind this 4-wheeler. So it holds all of my posts, all of my line. I threw a basket on the front rack that holds a charger, so I can, when I'm moving the sheep, I can just set that charger in there and it'll ride nicely and not get messed up. And the poles, I played around with like different ways of storing them and carrying them, and it turns out just laying them flat on the floor of that trailer is the best thing to do. I've got rails on it, so they're not going to slide off. Because everything else I tried to build racking. I had them in, like a barrel, but they get tangled. The feet grab the little step in portion of the post. It gets caught when I'm trying to pull them out. And I just wind up, when I want to pull like 3, I end up getting like 12, and that gets frustrating. So I just lay them on there. They stay put. And I've got this trailer too, has a nice big trunk on the front of it. So I put all of my other miscellaneous sheep-related, grazing-related gear in there. Added some couple of hooks to hang my reels on, and it's just been rocking and rolling. So, yeah, big thank you to Tactical for that. That has been a game changer out here. Just yes, yes, and Angel's been out of town, but I have had her operate it a little bit, but she's able to get on and off of it, which is nice. I've been wanting to get something for her up here so she can move around the property a little bit more when walking is more difficult or painful. And she kind of figured out how she could get her leg over, because then you don't have a lot of mobility from your hip or your knee. So she kind of gets on its side saddle, scoots back on the seat a little bit, and just kind of pulls her leg across, and then she's good to go. And as long as she's not trying to do it in a hurry, it works. So I gave her kind of like a quick 101 the other day, and then she headed out of town. So when she gets back, I'll show her. And it's I'm probably going to mess up the actual terminology, but it's not automatic. You do have to shift it, but there's no clutch. So you basically just let off the gas, let the RPMs drop, shift, and then proceed on your way. I think it's got 5 gears or something like that, and reverse works. So yeah, so we'll do a little tune-up just for the sake of doing it, and tires are in good shape. So man, I'm happy. It's just so nice. It's just kind of crazy how much more stuff I'm willing to do when I can hop on a machine and go zip to one end of the property, grab brush, clean it up, throw it on the trailer, take it down to the brush pile, or take it over to the chipping pile. Because honestly, like this time of year, on average, I walk anywhere from 8 to 10 miles a day, just on the farm. That usually includes like setting up and taking down a paddock, and then everything else, just everything else that I'm doing. And they usually, walking the dog and walking down to visit mom and dad, different things like that. And it's not, I'm not going to quit walking, but, when you're kind of battling tendonitis and stuff like that all the time, it sure is nice to be able to go a little easier, because I'm not getting any younger. So that's been nice. Let me see what else I got in terms of my housekeeping here before I hop over to the main topic. I kind of feel like that's it. I technically have a class. I haven't really advertised it. So I'm probably going to reschedule it for after the spring workshop out in Middle Tennessee. But I am planning some basically like pasture walk grazing classes. So we'll get specific to sheep. So I want to have folks up and kind of take them through what our 3 years of running these sheep have been like, what I've learned, the lessons I've learned, the things that I would like to impart. And I've got it. Like I said, I've got it on the calendar. I haven't advertised this on anybody coming to it yet, so I might just push it back out. But it will be an offering. So if you're catching this later and you are interested in coming out to our place in Knoxville, Tennessee, I can tell you all about everything I have done wrong and have learned to do better, and with sheep, but most importantly, be able to show the positive impact that having those animals on the land has been like. So I'll be pushing that, because the rest of April is frankly pretty packed, and it's looking like May is going to be a busy one too. So it's nice to be out of that wintertime slowdown and be, just making money's nice, frankly. Not trying to have to be so darn careful with every single purchase and things like that. I am also very, very hopeful that by the end of April, I'll have enough money stowed back that I'll be able to holler at Brad and have him out here and do the forestry mulching. That got paused because of a job I was anticipating paying for that didn't come together. So, and I'm pretty good about, I don't spend money before I've earned it, but I had kind of in my mind earmarked that, and it didn't work out. So we'll just pivot and we'll make it work another way. So main topic here, I ponder from time to time, like there's a lot of, there's a lot of discussion on farming versus homesteading and which is one and which is another. And frankly, I don't really care. And I use the two terms kind of interchangeably. Sometimes when you say homesteader, a lot of people still don't really know what you're talking about. But if you say farmer, they're like, oh yeah. And then they're like, what do you farm? And you ask folks like, Joel Salatin and regenerative grazing folks, and they're like, well, grass. Or sometimes people will even say soil. I'm building the soil. That's what I'm doing. It's because everything's based off of that. So it kind of got me thinking about it and how I can answer that question when it gets posed. And I like the idea of saying that I am a forage farmer. For me, because so much of my time and my focus is based on looking at what is growing without value judgment, without deciding in that moment it's good or bad or native or adapted or invasive or any of those terms, and but just ask myself, what is this plant? Why is it here? What's it telling me about the conditions in this spot as to why it's here? And how does it serve the whole? And is it something that is useful to a human? Is it useful to any of my livestock? Is it useful to the ecosystem, the wild animals? Like, how does it fit into the role? So I just kind of like the idea of calling it, forage farming, because something is a forage for everything. Even decaying matter is a forage for life in the soil. So box elder leaves are a forage for sheep, and I've seen deer eat it too. So ruminants like box elder and willow and all that other stuff. So I decided that it was important, and this is a shift that I've worked on. This is a mindset shift that I've worked on, especially these past couple of years. I wanted to learn to look at plants with a neutral, non-judgmental mindset, and most importantly, like maintaining curiosity about it, and not just go into a snap judgment of, oh, that's great, I love that, I want more of that, or that's bad and I want that to go away. So this has been something I've been working towards, and I've been able to get more intentional about that because of the nature of moving these sheep and the nature of having sheep that have pretty much doubled and a half, really, since I've gotten them, which means I've had to start getting creative about where I put them. So I've started carving more. I've basically been pushing closer to the property line. Like, I was leaving by a big buffer, I mean, like in some cases, like a 50 or 75-foot buffer from certain property lines. But now I'm starting to actually go through these areas where we have a wood line and clearing paths through so that I can run fencing so they can get into the wood line, not just be on what has been open pasture. Which means I've been encountering a lot of stuff. I've been seeing things in some places that I have not really set eyes on before, or certainly not, in the 5 years that we've been back here. It'll be 5 years in October that we'll have been back here full time. There's so much that has changed from when I was a kid that in a lot of cases, I'm just discovering things for the first time. So that's how I discovered that we have blue mist flower growing at forest edges on the literal southwest corner of the property. It's how I found avens, which is another shade-loving wildflower, and where my brother Tyler's been on the ball with clearing out a lot of areas that basically have been used for storing certain materials, and then had kind of become overgrown by brambles and things of that nature. He's been clearing those sites and opening it up, so it's another area that we can, throw down carbon, get the soil to wake up, have plants growing again, and be able to, put the sheep in there. So I've been finding things that were hanging out in understory and that sort of thing. So it really, to me, it comes down to just being very, like I said, intentional about the discovery process and not getting too tied up in the value judgments. I don't think it really serves us, especially people who are trying to work from this kind of regenerative and permaculture mindset. We try really hard not to make snap judgments about things. I think it's okay for, like, after a time, determine, like, for instance, we don't want Johnson grass in our kitchen gardens. Got a crazy rhizome structure. It takes over everything. Like that is undesirable in that sense. But in my pastures, Johnson grass appears to be quite favored by sheep, and primrose really likes it too. So, um, so it's kind of, good plant, but only in certain zones. Uh, and this whole line of thinking kind of gets me to the point where I'm also not compartmentalizing things. I'm working more to see things as a whole, to see how they're interconnected and how it all works together, and remember that it's not just about what I can see at 5 foot 6 feet above the ground, but what's going on when I get down at soil level, what's going on underneath the soil. If I do decide to, like before too long, I'm gonna be pulling some bush honeysuckle stumps out with a lever tool that I'm getting, and there's a very good chance that as I disrupt and pull those roots out, that's injecting a lot of air into the soil, and as soon as we pull one thing out, something else is going to come in to replace it, and it'll be interesting to see what it is, and then try to figure out what that's telling us about that particular site. And every site is different. That's what's so interesting about the way most properties are laid out. I mean, even small properties that are a city lot, those properties have different microclimates and different things going on. But you got to train yourself to look for it. Let me flip to my notes here. So talking about the value of these different plants. At this stage, when I encounter something, I can ask myself, usually the first thing that comes to mind is, how does this work with the sheep? Since the sheep are the ones that are touching more sections of the property than any other animal, I do need to know, like, is this okay for the sheep? Now, the nice thing about ruminants is, because of the way I manage them and I keep them moving, there's very little chance that even if they're fenced into something that has quote unquote poisonous plants, as long as they have a variety of forage to choose from and they don't go into that paddock being incredibly hungry, it's pretty unlikely that they're going to intentionally poison themselves. Like these animals have perpetuated themselves because they're smart enough to not do stupid things, frankly, not to eat things that are going to kill them. And kind of just like with the science of homeopathy, sometimes a little bit of a quote unquote poison is actually an antidote to a particular issue. And the sheep are smart enough to know this. That's why it's so interesting to watch them when they go into a new paddock and see what they go for first, and get even more specific and see what the older sheep go for, and go what they go for when they're like when they're pregnant, or when they're they've got babies at different stages of growth, and they're maybe they're at a stage where they're making a lot of milk, and then they're closer to weaning and they're making less milk. And it's just super, super interesting to me to get in and just kind of hang out with them, just kind of hang back and be real chill, and watch what those sheep target. And it's I've yet to have a sheep poison itself. And it's not like we don't have things here that are not, it's not like we don't have poisonous things on the property, because we certainly do. Like there are cherry leaves, and there are, unfortunately I've seen some stands of poison hemlock, and that they most certainly, can have access to at certain times. And it's kind of, they go in there, and I've never really seen them touch cherry leaf, but they will, make a little nibble or two of the hemlock. And it's when it's young. It generally gets mowed down before it gets tall. But, those animals are smart. Like they have instincts. They have reasons for doing things. So that kind of takes me to this terminology around noxious weeds. You've probably seen that term or heard that term used. That kind of comes from sort of like conventional pasture management, where and again, like I said, I'm talking about sheep. Cattle are a different game, so we can't take sheep talk and apply it to cattle, because I don't do cows and I don't know enough about them, so I'm not even going to speak to that. This is when we're working off of my observations with these Katahdin sheep that are pasture adapted, and that's all they've ever known. The noxious weed things comes from essentially conventional pasture management, where say they find thistle or hemlock, certain like really, really thick flushes of clover. Like, these are things that can cause ruminants some issues with their digestion, with with their even with their cardiovascular system and digestion and that kind of thing. So when you hear the word noxious weeds, you just think, oh, it just sounds terrible. And then next thing you know, people are talking about herbicides and things of that nature. From what I've been able to gather, and there's enough other people doing things similar to the way I do them. I mean, these are people I've been learning from as well. If you keep your animals moving, there really is no such thing as a noxious weed. But you've got to be able to put in the time to keep the animal moving. That's the thing. So it's really, like I said, it's really just an issue if the animal has run out of choices, has run out of options, and is being faced with eat this poisonous plant or starve. So that's kind of my take on it. Forage farming, I think I'll let that be my thing. Especially since I do, I enjoy holding the foraging classes. I enjoy learning more about that all the time, discovering things. I always get really excited when I discover something. I discovered a new kind of clover out here a few days ago. I'm always looking for what's changing in the landscape. And that's, again, the cool thing about the animal impact, is that things are changing, and we are seeing more things show up that sheep want to eat. I saw cudweed and corn salad, which I believe they're two different plants, but they look pretty similar, but they kind of fall into the same categorization. I watch these pastures super close, and I don't remember seeing that in the previous 2.5 years that I've been running these sheep, but I've found it up here in the hop shard this spring. So it's very interesting how plants that are beneficial to the animals that are present on the land start to show up when that animal has been making that impact on the land. I think that's really, really cool. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there for now, guys. Since I'm running solo and Angel is not home, I've got to make my own dinner. I got to feed the animals, and I have this sneaking suspicion there's something else that I'm supposed to be doing that I've forgotten to do. I'm sure the animals will let me know. So thank you for tuning in. Please share the live stream. Share my videos and stuff with folks if you find people who share these interests. And give me a holler if I can help you out with anything. I am very much in the swing of doing on-site property consults within about a 4-hour radius of Knoxville, Tennessee. And all that's up on the website. It's all there at strongrootsresources.com. And if I can lend you guys a hand in any way, let me know. And until next time, talk to you later.